Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about some of my favorite practices to use, law of attraction practices, to help you feel better. And because isn't that what we're all looking for right now? Isn't everyone looking to feel better? That's why we want all the things that we want and all the things we're asking for or demanding or resisting. We're just looking to feel better. And what, of course, do we know about law of attraction? That you are the creator of your own reality. Point blank, end period. End of story. You are the creator of your own reality. So the only person that can help you feel better now is you. And even I have forgotten that from time to time, which is why these practices are very important to add into your life and to give yourself a little slack in recognizing that never before have we been so focused on one of two or one of three opinions held so collectively by everyone around you. It's easy to practice law of attraction when you're in your head, when you're in your bubble, when you're in your world or vibrational frequency, and you're the only one wanting what it is that you want. And now when we add the collective to that mix, and all of a sudden there are 20 people, 1 million people who want what you want, we tend to want to take on some of the other aspects that come along with attaching ourselves to other people. We really are giving our power away. And I know I've done it over the period of the last 2 months a couple of times, and more so in the last couple of weeks. Now, I know if I'm dealing with it, you must be dealing with it too. I'm pretty practiced in a lot of this, and I've been doing pretty well up until recently. So I wanted to make sure we brought it back to the basics, because the basics are where it's at, to go back to the very simple idea, the simple fact that you are the creator of your own reality, and that everything we want, the only reason why we want it is so we can feel better when we think we have it. And so I'm going to share with you a couple of the practices today that we did at the Manifestation Boot Camp, things that I've been doing for a while, things that I practice with the inner circle when we have our group coaching calls, and things that I recommend people do when we do the 30-day manifestation challenge. So before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to some of the people who are on my social media platforms. I had sent out a post a couple of days ago asking for what it was that you guys needed. And I want to address these needs point by point because I think they represent us as a whole. But before we even get to that, there are two things I want to remind you about. I am teaching a Strengthening Intuition course. It is a 4-week course in June. As we go through today and these practices that I'm going to share with you, they're the tip of the iceberg for being able to click into your intuitive connection, your ability to receive source energy, your ability to receive higher consciousness, and your ability to discern when it's coming out of the vortex and out of alignment or when it's in alignment. And that's what we're doing in the Strengthening Intuition course. We are live for 4 weeks. And you don't have to be live. We're doing practices that can help us establish new neural pathways, open us up to ways in which we are receiving messages that we haven't been before. Now, once the course is over at the end of June, you're able to get it at a later date. It just won't be live. So this will be the only time, the one and only time, that if you're able to make it live, I will be leading you through these practices. And if you have questions, you can get them answered on the spot by me. If that's not important to you, no problem. You can get the course later down the line. But if you're interested in strengthening your intuition, because it's not just about the concept, it's about the exercise. And it's just like exercising for your body. When you want to get stronger, you practice something. So we're going to practice in 4 weeks, strengthening our intuition and activating parts of ourselves that we don't have access to all the time or that we don't utilize. If you're interested in joining the course, it's jjflizanes.com/intuition. Again, that's jjflizanes.com/intuition. And for those of you that are out there that have a podcast or want to start a podcast or do something in the media, and it could be video, it doesn't have to be audio. Maybe you do videos for a living. Doug and I have had lots of conversations about what we are finding as we work one-on-one with more podcasters, what people need across the board, what's gonna tip the scale for them on being more successful. And we're going to be doing a webinar on Monday, June 8th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time on sales training for serious podcasters. Now, I don't know if that's many of you or none of you, but I just wanted to let you know in case some of you are podcasters or want to be podcasters, or like I said, are doing video or some kind of education where you'd like to bring in more money, more sales, more clients, sell more packages. So again, it's sales training for the serious podcaster or just sales training. I mean, literally it could be for anybody, but we really are going to focus on those in media. So podcasting, people doing videos, possibly if you're an author and how you're doing that also. So it would apply to all of you. And if you're interested in joining that free webinar on Monday, June 8th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, you can go to jjflizanes.com/podcast sales. Okay, podcast sales. Even if you don't have a podcast, you're welcome to join us, but make it podcast sales is the link to sign up for the free webinar on Monday, June 8th. So before I teach you the first trick, the first exercise of law of attraction that I think is super easy to do, I'm going to address some of the questions that I had when I reached out and asked everybody how they were doing. So one of my inner circle members said that she's having control issues. How to deal with control issues. And I would argue that the world is having control issues. I would argue that every single person, especially if you're that person yelling at anybody else to wear a mask or social distance or XYZ, that is an addiction called control. And so many people don't know that control issues are an addiction. Let's talk about addiction for a second. If you have ever dealt with someone who is an alcoholic or a drug addict and has gone, or you yourself, and you've gone to, let's say, AA or Al-Anon. I've only gone to Al-Anon, so that's what I can speak from. When you go to Al-Anon, you are told that your qualifier, the person who got you there, has an addiction. It's whatever it is, okay? It's their substance. They also tell you that you have an addiction also, and that addiction is focusing on them. And in a way, it's a form of control. You're wanting to control someone else so that you feel better. But what it's doing is blocking you from actually just looking at you and dealing with you. It's actually an escapism. It's kind of a denial in a way of saying that in order for me to feel better, I need to control you, or you need to behave in a certain way. And I would hope by now most of you understand who listen to the show that you are the creator of your own reality, and that we never want to look at circumstances to change as the way for us to feel better. It's an inside job, because we can't walk around asking everyone to change so that we feel better. It wouldn't be possible for everyone to feel better if that were the case. It's not logical. It doesn't make any sense. It's not practical. It'll never happen. And what it is a giving away of your power to someone else. It's laying yourself in front of someone else saying, you have power over me. I'm not the creator of my own reality. You're the creator of my reality. And if you don't shape up, I'm going to respond in a certain way. So the control issue, first of all, needs to be looked at as an addiction. It's an addiction. When you want to control somebody else, we are not paying attention to what's going on inside of us. I'm going to give you an example of something that's happening right now. So for those of you or people that you know who get mad, who want to shame others who aren't wearing masks, what's really going on? And again, the lack of consciousness is really one of my biggest issues with what's going on right now. And I don't really care what everyone else does. Just leave me alone. I have been afraid of someone taking power away from me and giving it to someone else. That's been where I've been in the muck at times and having to pull myself out of, which we'll get to later on in the show. So if you're someone who's afraid, so the fear is, what are your needs? And this goes back to episode 118, 3 Steps to Effective Communication. It's the work of Marshall Rosenberg and Nonviolent Communication. It's really getting down to the heart of what your need is. If you're someone who's afraid, you do not trust that your body is strong enough. You do not trust that your emotions are clear enough. You don't trust that your body temple won't be able to fight back some kind of virus that's going on right now. That is a real fear. So what is your need? Well, your need is for protection and safety. But can you really expect to get it from other people? You can't. And even if you think you can because you want to try and you want to yell at everybody and shame everybody and tell everyone that they're wrong and find every study to prove everyone that is in your life that you're right and they're wrong, they still might not do it. You absolutely can't control other people. You can try, and a lot of women especially try emotionally manipulating other women and other men and their significant others into doing what makes them feel better. But here's where it's a ruse, guys. It's not real. What's real is that you are the only one who has power to change how you feel and what you attract. The other sciences that haven't been talked about for those of you that watched or listened to my podcast last week with Dr. Christian Northrup, epigenetics has been talked about. Epigenetics is the gene expression. It's the ability to express a gene, something going on inside of you, something that gets affected by our environment. But it's also our environment, meaning the way we think about things, how we feel, our own chemistry and frequency. And we'll talk more about quantum physics in the next coming months with Dr. Bruce Lipton coming on the show. Quantum physics states the same thing, that through the eye of the beholder is how reality is seen. We all see things differently, so how do we affect what happens to us? It's about how we think about it, how we feel about it, how we vibrate about it. So between quantum physics and epigenetics, even if your best efforts are to try to help other people, you can't control where they vibrate. So if you're having a real fear of your own safety, the only thing you can do that will make any difference is for you to deal with you, for you to find a way to do the things you need to do to feel better about your own health. Maybe the contrast is showing you haven't done a great job of taking care of your health. And that's not on anybody else, that's on you. Maybe this contrast has shown you that you often don't think about the repercussions of some of the actions that you've done, or the people that you hang out with, or the frequency that dominates your world mostly, or watching the news, or getting in arguments, or wanting to defend your position. That all brings up resistance, and resistance doesn't allow intuition or flow or answers or a higher frequency. It blocks everything. When we get to what's really going on, the people who are in deep, deep fear have a choice. You have a fear for your own health. So what can you do about it? Well, you can take better care of your health. You can actually do things that move the needle. And there are plenty of things, which we won't get to on today's show because this is not what the show is about. If you'd like to know more, you can reach out to me. We can definitely do a consultation. I have that webinar that I did, that Mind, Body, Soul Immunity Powerhouse that I did for 1440 that I have available if you're interested. And I can make that available. Just let me know. And I literally go over every single thing from the mind, the body, the soul, and the spirit on how to increase your immunity. So that is something you have 100% power over. Now, when you go outside, you can be educated on some of the things that work and some of the things that don't work. You can be proactive and preventative about all the things that you need to do in order to protect and stay safe. And of course, the biggest one is literally clicking into a deeper level of trust. A deeper level of trust, whatever comes down the pipeline for you, is something that you can handle, that the contrast will serve you well in propelling you forward in new ways of things that are important to you. Maybe this is just showing you what is important to you. And maybe you're mad because you actually haven't made it important before, but all of a sudden now it's really important. So when we look at control issues, we have to dig beneath what the control is about. And for someone in a situation with an addict, definitely safety is going to be part of it. But again, when we ask others to provide our safety, we instantaneously become a victim and we give our power away. We get disconnected from the power we have within ourselves and the power that we have in trusting something bigger than we are and trusting on a deeper level than we have before. So when you're looking at what you have control over and what you're trying to control others to do, first notice that you're doing it. Take a step back. Ask yourself, what are you avoiding in your own life? What are you avoiding looking at in your own life? I know a lot of people with control issues that don't want to admit the truth about their life. They don't want to admit they're unhappy in their marriage. They don't want to admit they're unhappy at their job. They don't want to admit that they don't like what they're doing. So they point their focus outside of themselves. It's a distraction. Sometimes control issues literally creates a distraction so you don't look at what you don't like. It's a way to avoid dealing with what's going on with you. So use the 3-step process. Ask yourself what you're feeling, what need is not being met that's creating that feeling, and then what are the strategies you can take to get the need met. And in the case of wanting to control others, there is no strategy that will ever work to control others, I promise you. Even if someone mandates something or makes a law, there will still be freedom seekers who will break it. So it is an illusion that you will ever control other people. So bring it home, bring it back in, quiet yourself for a minute, take out your feelings and needs list, and do an assessment of what's going on for you. What is it that I need, and how do I get that need met? And how do I get that need met without asking anyone else to be different? Because when you go down that slippery slope, you will not win, and you will be disappointed, and you will be frustrated and angry because we can't control other people. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you understand that. And if that is you, if what this situation is causing right now is your awareness that you have control issues, this is great news, because now we get to be called into breathing into a new level of trusting. I'm going to say that this situation is causing us to recognize our upper limits. I definitely hit an upper limit. I hit an upper limit because up until now, pretty much, I've been in a belief system that has allowed me to expand, allowed me to be more successful, allowed me to create joy and happiness and get the relationship that I want. And all of a sudden, I hit a level. I hit a level of trust and depth and surrender that I wasn't ready for because I had already gotten so many other things that I wanted. This is new territory for me. So I want you to recognize where your upper limit is, and your upper limit is basically keeping you only at a certain level of receiving abundant success and joy. And for a lot of you, you're afraid to feel joy. Sometimes if you haven't had examples in your life of high frequency and joy and happiness, you don't know what it's like to feel happier and to sustain happiness. And then what kicks in is this insecure belief in ourselves that we don't deserve it. So we upper limit by redirecting our thoughts into why we shouldn't have it, why we, sabotaging in some way. For those of you that are in the inner circle, or those of you that have read The Big Leap, heard the show with Gay Hendricks, right? Really, we all upper limit when we get to the next level. And so for a lot of people, this is the limit. The problem is the limit has been shown. Now, what do we do about it? In order to allow in more abundant success and love and joy, we have to expand past this limit. And I'm telling you, I've had a hard time myself. Okay. So in order to practice what I preach, I've been doing the things I'm going to share with you today, along with some others. And of course, I also surround myself with people and take note of and try to have conversations around and try to avoid. I'm not doing a good job. I'm spending way too much time on Facebook watching people fight, and it's really depressing, and I hate it. I'm even in a group of people where I agree with all the things they're saying, but I don't agree with the energy in which they're saying it. So even though at times we want to get on our bandwagon and feel connected to others, sometimes the cost of connecting to others is lowering your frequency to where they are. And I've had to make a choice to not do that in order to maintain and to expand and to grow past this limit that I have, this upper limiting that I'm doing. So another person asked, right now I'm struggling a bit with what I meant to do, and I'm also working on saying hasta la bye-bye to the people pleaser in me. So struggling with what you're meant to do. For a lot of you, I don't know where you are in your careers and your businesses, if you were let go, if you work for yourself. I don't know I know for one person who's close to me who loved what she did, she's very clear that moving forward, she doesn't want to do the way she was doing things. And that this break has created clarity for a lot of people on a lot of things. I mean, hell, there's relationships breaking up. There's relationships getting back together. There are people wanting to quit their jobs and change careers. And there are people who are realizing that they love what they do more than ever and that they want to make it sustainable. So if you're the person who's recognizing that you're not sure what you want to do, either because you were laid off or because you just don't want to go back to the work you had before, the good news about this is that you have increased your level of awareness about something you were settling for. Really take that in. You are settling for and making the best of something, which is fine. It's the only way to make peace with what we have to get more. We have to make peace with what we have. But in order to allow yourself to dream bigger and to want more and to be honest, I guess that's really the phrase I want you to get from this too, is being honest. Be honest. What do you want? If it isn't in what you're doing, now may be the perfect time to at least start making a plan of exiting if you can't exit. Now, when it comes to choosing what to do, that's not something I can do in a podcast because it's a personal thing. All I'd tell you is to go back and read The Big Leap, everybody, and look at your zone of genius and your zone of excellence and start to massage that and figure out some clues as to what you love to do. And again, I can help you personally with that, but it's not going to come across on a podcast for all of you. Now, in terms of the people pleaser aspect, people pleasing is one of the most manipulative positions. And for those of you that are listening right now who have not heard me say this before, you're probably thinking, what? I'm so nice. I'm so nice. And I tell everybody what they want to hear. And so what happens with that is that you've perceived yourself as amiable and likable and nice and quiet and easy. But what happens when we care more about what others think of us than we think of us, because that's what that's about, we, again, have given our power away and we're trying really hard to project a certain personality that we think other people will accept and approve of. And then once we think they've approved, we feel good about ourselves. We feel like, okay, I am a good person because you like me, because I have done this, this, and this for you. I'm very giving, I'm very supportive, and whatever other adjectives you want to throw in there. The problem is that for most people pleasers, later down the line, when the person you were pleasing doesn't behave the same to you, it hurts even more. Because you think, how could they not do for me what I did for them? Well, because they didn't ask you to do for them. You did for them to manipulate them, to get a response out of them so that you'd feel better about you. So how do you stop the people pleasing? You first have to be honest. Again, let's go back to honest. And again, for those of you that have reached out before, the feelings and needs list, bring it out. Be honest about how you feel and what you want. You cannot live an authentic, sustainable life or relationship if you're lying. If you care more about what everyone else around you thinks all the time and less about how you feel, this is not a recipe for success. Because again, you've given your power away. You're now the victim of everybody else's opinions, which, by the way, can change on a dime with no notice. Again, not sustainable, not realistic, never going to happen. So I would say it's an issue of self-confidence and it's an issue of self-worth. And hey, just like upper limiting, we all at every stage have to reevaluate our relationship with our confidence and self-worth when we move into a new zone, when we step into a zone of genius, when we step into a greater expansion of who we are, because now we're actually attracting more and more of the things that we want, and now your ability to receive them is in question. The reason why many people don't attract what they want or don't get what they want is they don't believe they're deserving of having it. This is the practice. You can do law of attraction every day of your life on every subject, but at the end of the day, if you do not believe you deserve it and you are worthy of it, whatever it is, you may get it, but then you will sabotage. And that is where the upper limit comes in. That is where experiencing a greater expansion of your energy field to allow in, to say, to transform any of these core wounds that Gay Hendricks talks about in The Big Leap. To transcend that you are worthy and that you are deserving and that your ability to receive is as strong as your ability to attract. Because I have to have both of them. You can attract something really amazing that's in alignment with who you are, but then when you get it, do you keep it? Throughout my time in business, I've taken many classes with business owners and trainers who would tell their story of that they made millions of dollars and they lost millions of dollars, and they made it again and then they lost it again. And each time what they were selling me was the method. Sometimes they were selling the idea of worth and all of the self-exploration and acceptance one needs to do to get to the level of accepting and keeping everything that they're attracting. But for some people, it was a gimmick of the road to figuring out what the right way to do it is. But really, it's just an upper limit. It's an upper limit that says, I've received all of this. Am I worthy of having it? Am I worthy of being it? Whatever that means for you. And I'm not judging, by the way, worthy or not worthy of any level. It's really all in the eye of the beholder. It's you. You decide what you're worthy of. You decide what you're attracting, and then whether or not you're able to receive it and keep it. So another one of the questions was needing help staying on track, emotional eating, not escaping reality by watching Netflix the whole time. So I will say that yes, while I think during this time, most people have experienced some degree of emotional eating, if nothing else from boredom, maybe not from stuffing anxiety or depression, but just from being bored. Because if you can't go out of your house and you're someone with anxiety and you're used to fidgeting and doing things and you can't sit still for very long and be comfortable sitting still, then maybe you've gone to the kitchen 20 times in an hour because you're bored and you're nervous. That's still emotional eating. But sometimes it's not coming from just depression or sadness. Sometimes it's just manifesting because you literally are trying to procrastinate something. You don't want to focus on something because it makes you feel bad and you don't like that. So then you're avoiding it by going to the kitchen. I would say forgive yourself no matter where you are, if you've emotionally eaten this entire time or if you've done some of it. But whenever you can be aware and catch yourself doing it, that's when you can stop and say, what is this really about? Either what am I avoiding? Or what am I unwilling to express? That is how we're going to handle overcoming emotional eating on a regular basis, on a chronic way to numb yourself. I think emotional eating happens to everybody forever at certain degrees. It's where it's out of balance with avoiding. Sometimes you need a buffer of time. Sometimes you don't want to deal with something just quite yet. You need to kind of calm down a little bit. And that's where something like Netflix or taking a nap or taking a walk or listening to some fun music, it's not that you're completely avoiding, you're just giving a buffer of time. You're wanting your vibration to settle. You're wanting your charge, your negative emotional charge to come back to neutral so that you can come from a conscious place and not a reactionary place. Now, in terms of doing it all the time, if your Netflix binging is off the chart and you're getting nothing done and you're doing nothing, then the question becomes, what is the bigger goal for your life anyway? If we have nothing pulling us, if we have nothing that we desire, there's nothing that excites us, then the numbing won't help you figure that out. Again, I'd refer back to Gay Hendricks' The Big Leap, or, working with me on a session or two of trying to figure that out, looking at your astrology. I mean, there's many ways to go about figuring out what is it you're truly passionate about? What do you want to be doing? And if what you want to be doing in the world isn't important to you, then again, we're managing emotion on a day-to-day basis. So we have to find something bigger than us, outside of our circumstances, something that where we have purpose, where we have passion to deliver and to get up every day and to be on point, to help other people. Because really, when it came down to it, and you heard that show with Gay Hendricks, pretty much everyone's zone of genius has something to do with helping other people. So figure out, how do you help other people? What are the skill sets that you have? What are the passions and unique abilities that your life circumstances have caused you to have skills around for either a certain group of people or a certain method or methodology that you present? We all want to help people in some way. So figure out what that is, or unless you're an artist and you want to help people by entertaining them or playing music for them or creating beautiful pictures and paintings, that's another form of genius that doesn't require you to work with people. It just requires you to be in a state of inspiration to want to paint or create music in a certain way to elevate or to help somebody. activate them in some way. All music, of course, is not happy. Plenty of people want music to be angry, to activate, whether it be activism or rebellion or freedom seekers or something. They want to just use music as an outlet. So just remember that it's really about activating within someone else something, a message that you want to give. Someone else asked, I feel like things are happening right now that we've wanted and worked hard for. We're in a good place. Maybe how to keep your partner on the same pace as you mentally, spiritually, vibrationally grow. What are some ideas or ways to develop together? I know you mentioned that you and Doug do a gratitude game together. Some couples pray together. Not looking for date night ideas. What are some other ideas on what you would do with your partner to help develop? Doug and I have been reading together, and I think that is really been great. Like, of course, as most of you who are in the inner circle know, we did 4 episodes on The Big Leap because we were actually working our upper limits. We were working on identifying our zone of genius. We were having transformation. We were having a great time using that framework in both our business and our relationships. We are now on to The New Rules of Marriage by Terrence Real, who's also coming on the show in a couple of weeks. And this is a very interesting book for us to be focused on right now because it's really bringing up, especially since we've both had other marriages, it's bringing up things that we want to do differently or ways that we've looked at our marriages in the past that maybe haven't worked. I think it's a really timely book for us. So picking up a book and reading it together, reading out loud and discussing it is a very effective way to learn together. Now, other ways to grow together are some of the ways that I'm going to share with you here shortly, the 2 exercises that I want to help you with. And I think it's done really well with a partner, both of them, but you can also do them by yourself. All right. And then the last question was the feelings of needing to do everything and the needing to do nothing. And, again, we want to be able to know and trust our impulses. And sometimes what happens is we have an impulse that is a should from a space of nervous anxiety energy. This nervous, I should be doing something, I should be working. And it's focused on fear and it's focused on something happening or unfolding in a way that we don't want to. So we're literally creating the future, but because we're creating it in a negative way, it then forces us in our minds to should ourselves into things that we should be doing now. But see, the problem with that, besides the fact that it's based on negative emotions and out of alignment, it's actually not your intuition. So if we want to do nothing, if you're being called to do nothing, then do nothing, but really do nothing. Like really fully engage in doing nothing because it's going to reset you. It's going to put you in a state of neutral, okay? And from neutral, you will be able to better hear and identify any impulses or intuitive hits you have about moving forward. We don't want to take action for action's sake. Action from action's sake only perpetuates anxiety and this efforting that won't get us where we want, which is leverage and freedom. So I know for some people, you're going to say, well, I have kids and I have a business and I do this and I have all these things that I have to attend to. And I understand that. I'm not addressing the day-to-day life things that you have to do. I have to cook meals. I have to do the dishes. I have to clean the cat litter. I have to do these things. However, I'm talking about the creative impulses on your business. I'm talking about the time you spend with yourself. I'm talking about making sure that you recognize. I recognized yesterday that we've been together for months and months and months now, and I need some space. And it has nothing to do with Doug. It has to do with me. I was used to having more space. In my astrology, it says I need more space. I need space, okay? And I haven't had any. And I'm not freaking out and I'm not upset about it, but sometimes you have to hone in on what you need and then do it. And figure out a way for everyone in your circle, in your situation, in your family to understand that everyone's needs are different. And how can we work together to get everyone's needs met? I know a lot of you who are homeschooling right now and working from home, the entire family, and you want to pull your hair out. And I am so sorry. And I send lots of love and light to you. Try to find a way to create some space for yourself, a break, because you're going to crack. And that's why a lot of people are at a heightened emotional state right now, is because they're about ready to crack. because they haven't had their normal space of driving in their car by themselves or going to work and talking with other adults and changing their clothes into something that looks nice, right? We've been out of routine of taking better care of ourselves if you relied on the gym, which, by the way, you don't need to rely on the gym, whole nother topic. But if you relied on the gym and now all of a sudden, you're feeling like, wow, I'm not taking care of myself the way that I would like, know that it's all possible to do at home. I understand that your preference is to go out and do it somewhere else, but how do we become more flexible without losing ourselves? And how do we tune into what it is that we need? All right, now these 2 exercises that I'm going to tell you about are very simple, and I would recommend that you start practicing them ASAP. If you do not have a partner to do this with, I would recommend calling somebody or coming over if you're in the Manifestation Challenge group, posting something asking for a partner, okay? And you can find a partner within the community here on my community to do this. If you're in the inner circle, you can find a partner there. If you're in the mastermind, you can find a partner there. A lot of you already had partners, but you've let it go. So the first exercise is called Rampage of Appreciation. I was listening to Abraham today in preparation for today's show. And because I've been off too, I'm not going to lie. That's why I've done the work I've been doing, is because I'm being asked, this contrast is asking me to trust at a deeper level and to utilize these tools and to accept and surrender at a deeper level than I have before. I've been like flying high for a while, and now all of a sudden I have contrast. Well, the good news about contrast is that it calls us to expand. The benefit of expansion is learning how to receive more success, abundance, and love and joy, and being less needing of circumstances to change. And before this situation, and even until recently, I didn't need circumstances to change in my mind. It's only in the last couple of weeks that my mind has started to dip into out of alignment thinking and into storytelling and giving my own power away, where I thought I needed circumstances to change. But that's not the truth. So one of the things that I heard today with my Abraham that I listened to is that when you really, really want something and you believe you can have it, it feels exciting when you're thinking about it. And for me, there's a whole bunch of subjects where I think about them: the house that we're going to buy, my business, my relationship with Doug, my health, my mastermind, all the things, all the courses I'm creating, the courses that Doug and I are doing, our mastermind members. When I think about all of those things and creating new and wonderful stuff to help serve people, I get very excited because I really, really want it and I believe it's going to happen. But when you really, really want something that you don't believe is going to happen, it feels really uncomfortable. And what I've been struggling with for this time is believing that what I'm going to, for me to get what I want, other people have to participate. And that has been my downfall. And that has been what it's creating this contrast to show me my upper limit of saying, I have to let that go. I know it's not the truth. But for the first time in probably a very long time, am I seeing such a dichotomy of choice, of one versus another choice that I haven't participated in before because it hasn't been important to me. But all of a sudden, there are certain topics within this conversation that are important to me, that I really, really, really want. But part of me doesn't believe I can get it unless I'm reliant on other people. And that's not true. So remember that the charge of emotion that you put around something is really important. And that's why every subject is 2 subjects: the having of it or the lack of having of it. So if we look at, I really want a lot of money, but every time you think about it, it makes you feel badly, then you're not actually activating, attracting more money. You're activating not having any money because you feel badly about it because you don't believe it. So Rampage of Appreciation, you're going to literally appreciate everything you can for as long as you can. Now, I do this with my mastermind members on the phone, and I have a couple other friends that I've been doing this with for 10 years. And a lot of you may have heard the story at some point in time, but I think it's really important to bring it back. I want you to practice the Rampage of Appreciation starting now. Even if it's to yourself out loud, it's to your dog, it's to your cat, it's to your hamster, it's to the wall, it's to your plant, I don't care. Start being honest about what you can appreciate right now. I will give you an example, okay? I appreciate that my business is actually doing better than it was before, because with people home, some people are realizing that they are not taking care of their health the way they want to, or their relationships aren't going the way they want to. So they've actually been reaching out to get help now because they're at a crossroads of sink or swim. I appreciate that we've been able to help many people in the podcasting world take their game up and take their level up to do their podcast in a way that's actually going to make a difference for them, their community, and their bottom line. I appreciate that I would not want to be quarantined with anybody else. I appreciate I have a flexible partner who's lighthearted, who's positive, who is open, who reads with me and dances with me, and that we walk on the beach. I appreciate that the beach is open now. I appreciate that we've walked on the beach 3 times. I appreciate Michael Neely was here last weekend, and we had a really fun time recording lots of shows. We put one of them on the Inner Circle, one of them on Doug's show, and one of them on Michael's show. I appreciate we had a lot of good food. We also exercised a lot. I appreciate my cats are healthy and all taking a nap right now on the bed. I appreciate that it is a sunny, beautiful day, and that I'm super excited about carving out the kind of house we're going to get and then buying at the right and perfect time right now, so that I'm going to get the best deal I ever could in any circumstance, and that I'm have the ability to save, the ability to work on my credit, the ability to be flexible with when we move and not have to feel rushed like we did last time. I appreciate that at every turn I have support. I've got friends who think the same and want to be talking about the same thing. I appreciate my mastermind members are getting together for the first time in a couple of weeks. And I am so excited to commune with people in person and to have transformation and to do this work. It just lights me up to get my body involved and to get other people involved and to be able to serve in this way. Now, I could do this all day long because I've done this for so long. But if you're not practicing it, if you're not doing it, then you're probably not even good at it. And when I did the manifestation boot camp and I put this exercise out first, I was shocked at how many people were not good at it, because I didn't recognize that you have to believe that you're worthy of having good things happen to you. You have to be comfortable looking at what is working and say it. You have to be able to milk the good stuff. You have to be able to really appreciate something on a very deep level to be comfortable doing this. And the more uncomfortable you are should be a very strong indicator of your inability to receive. So even if you're practicing all the law of attraction stuff, your ability to receive isn't as strong. So please practice the rampage of appreciation. Here's how we do it in the group. You decide to have a partner, you can do it. Doug and I do it at night in bed sometimes, although you can call it the appreciation game. It's rampaging, but it's the appreciation game. And we'll take turns, and one person will go and do their whole share, and then I'll go and do my whole share. And it's basically, you can appreciate the other person. You can appreciate anything about business, your family, your health, your life, whatever. And so it can be done in person. But it's not to have discussions around. You're not talking about, oh, yeah, let's talk about this thing. It's really just to get into a frequency that feels good, that's in appreciation, and keep it going as long as you can. If you're going to call someone on the phone, you want to make it to the end of their voicemail. That is my recommendation and how I tell people to do this. Don't just do a few sentences. Literally use the entire voicemail, which will be somewhere between 2 minutes and 4 minutes. And then when you get good at it, you're going to want to call back. And you're going to want to do 2 or 3 of them, because you're milking the good stuff so much that you get so good at it and it feels so good to do it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the better you feel. And the more you can sustain a higher vibrating place. The next exercise, and the last thing I will mention on today's episode to give you guys some work to do, so that way you can feel better now. And again, remember, the only reason you want any of the things you want is because you think you'll feel better when you have it. Part of this manifestation journey is learning how to feel better under any circumstance so that you can easily attract what you're looking for. So the other exercise is called pivoting. And I'm sure you've heard this. I probably have talked about it. We can look at and complain about all the things we don't like about what's going on right now. And we can do it from every point of view. So I don't care what it is. I don't care about the content of what it is that you want, even if it's directly in opposition of mine. Everyone can get what they want because all you want is to feel better. So if you notice and you're clear, you have clarity over the things you do not want, I would recommend that you write it down. Here are the 3 or 5 things I do not want. Acknowledge the very strong contrast. On the other side of the paper, next to it or on the back or wherever you want to put it or below it, I want you to, well, next to it would be better. I want you to write down what this contrast is created. Because I don't want this, I'm clear that I want this, okay? Whatever that may be. So for me, it would be freedom right now. And because there are places where I have a lack of freedom. I feel a lack of freedom. So I want freedom. I want freedom, and this is what it looks like, right? And I want you to explain it. Here's what I want, and here's what it looks like. And then when you get into a knot, in a negative feeling place, I want you to pivot and turn to the direction of what you're creating with this contrast and be about creating the future. One of the other things that I heard today that I thought was important to share with you guys is that Source doesn't look back. Source only looks ahead. Source energy also doesn't look at contrast. Source energy looks at what's been created from the contrast. So that's where I want us to be. That's where I want you to be. I mean, you don't have to be there if you don't want to. You won't hurt me if you're not there. But for the betterment of you and everything that is that you want to create, I am recommending that you pivot. When you find yourself in a negative discussion about something, start talking about the thing that you want. Oh, because of this is creating this, and I'm going to be so excited when this happens. And I can't wait to see it do this and that, and describe it and be about it and focus forward. Find those feelings that you're searching for now by complaining about something else that you're never going to find the feeling in that. Pivot, acknowledge what it is that you want, but be specific about it. So when I say write it down, I mean write it down. For some of you left brainers, you'll do it. You right brainers like, I don't need to write it down. Yes, you do. You need to write it down, because until you get it out of your head and onto paper and you see it and it becomes easy and structured, it will be easier to pivot quickly and get to the feeling you're looking for, because you have influence and control over that. That is the one thing every single person has, is the ability to influence and control how you feel at every moment based on what you're focused on. Okay, so I will make a couple of small announcements to keep this going. Again, remember, you can come into the Manifestation Challenge group and ask for a partner if you want a phone call with somebody. I think it's very important to hear yourself speak it out loud and to have somebody else receive it. Not to mention, I will tell you, a lot of people really love getting those voicemails. Isn't that a much nicer voicemail to get that you don't have to respond to? That's someone just being happy? It puts you in a good mood. That's what I've heard from people. So it's worth a try. If you're interested in joining the intuition class, it's jjflizanes.com/intuition. And if you have a podcast or you're in video or you have some kind of social media and you're selling something and you want to come to the free webinar, jjflizanes.com/podcast sales, all of this will be in the show notes. These are the kinds of things we do in our inner circle. When we have coaching sessions once a month, we focus on what everyone's stuck with. And the last time we had a session, I decided we will be doing a rampage of appreciation at the end of every inner circle membership group coaching call, because it helps everybody elevate their frequency and really tune in to what is working, because we all have the power to do that. And if you're wanting to come join us in the inner circle, jjflizanes.com/inner circle, we'd love to have you. And again, please reach out if there's any other way I can be of service to you at this time. I want the best for you. I want whatever you want for you. And I want you to get it without anyone else having to be different for you to get it. I want you to get what it really is that you want, which is those feelings and that reality and that ability to receive more and more of the things that you're asking for, and to feel the freedom and the power that you already have within you to make that happen. I love you. Take good care.